What's up, guys? It's Lionel the Builder back again with another video. Multitasking as I do as a full stack software engineer who suffers from severe ADHD. For some reason, it's best for me if I'm sitting here now and I'm trying to work. I go, why don't I turn all this stuff on and go live? I was just about to go live for Code and Chill, but I remembered I have a list of videos that I've been curating. Shout out to the Discord. Join the Discord. In there, you can even drop your own videos in there for me to react to later, or stuff that pops up in your recommended that's interesting to you. Drop it in there. I'll eventually watch it with you up here. Links will be in the description if you want to watch this without my commentary. But as I was going to say, I'm working for my startup, and I was gonna go live and do a Code and Chill, but I remembered I gotta react to these videos. The lighting's right at this time of day. This isn't even my phone. Usually my phone is the crispy one. This is my webcam. Anyway, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna start off with Chris Sean. Everything's changing to junior developers. He always has good videos. Probably saying the same stuff that we all been hearing, but I'm gonna start working, and I'm gonna pause, and I'm going to give my
You're in
take
for a long
on
ride.
it and
You're learning
such. Give my take and such. Sorry. Let's get into it. This is Chris Sean. Everything's changing to junior developers. We got about 5 videos to go through, so go ahead, get comfortable. Make yourselves at home. Let's act like this is a code and chill, because it was going to be, and we just be coding and chilling. Anyway, let's go.
learning how to code right now, trying to get your first foot in the door. I want to tell you, that's going to be one of the hardest things that you'll ever do. Not only are you trying to learn how to code in a world where AI is pretty much taking over the space, where literally Silicon Valley is transitioning from it's all about the valuation of your company to now how you are making a change in the world of AI. Like literally, I can't even think of one company right now who is not using AI within their product. Just think who? Everyone's using it. If you're learning how to code in a time when AI is taking over and where all these layoffs are happening, literally as I film this, Spotify is laying off.
Is AI really taking over, though? Or is that fear mongering? Let's be honest, guys. Drop a comment, please. Let me know. Is AI really taking over the code? Because I don't think so. What is there out there that you can just... I know there's no code solutions to things, right? And people are building things. I need to maybe look more into that. But from my understanding of at least ChatGPT, what is it doing that is not piloted by an engineer? I know that we are being laid off though. So, but I don't know if it's as bad as we think it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm in a position where right now I'm blessed to be one of the people who are employed. So let me not jinx myself. Let me knock on wood, but I have a little bit of a question about that, and I'm not sure. I feel like it's just a great tool like autocorrect right now that we can use to improve and to learn and to build things faster to increase our productivity. But as far as taking our job, man, ChatGPT has gotten me in so much more trouble than probably I might even be better off without it, because then I would have been forced to like read documentation more, get more books, actually like write stuff down and study this stuff, and like really, it's so hard when ChatGPT can just write whatever they're asking you to do. ChatGPT can just write it for you and you plug it in and then deal with the errors after that. You know what I mean? How do you go from coding that way to coding the way that they did before ChatGPT? I believe that is our biggest hurdle as people learning to code and hopping into the industry right now. It's like we have that helper that isn't really a helper because there's so many different use cases and other stuff that is incorporated into the project that when you try to even use it, it never works. It never works, bro. If that shit does not work, not on its own, sure, it will get you going, but then you have to take it from there, man. And you're going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth trying to fix it and get everything to compile. You could spend all day doing that, whereas if you would have just known how to write the code in the first place, you're good to go. So from my experience, and when I compare myself to the other people on my team, the way that I code and the way that I see they code when they're helping me, it's night and day. and they are much better because they learned how to code before AI got involved. So when we talk about AI and all that stuff, man, I'm like, I don't know if it's really gonna take our job. Not yet, at least.
laying off
Knock on
50% of
wood.
their employees, and Twilio is laying off more people again for the third time within the last 2 years. Again, junior developers, if you're learning how to code right now, I want to give you a lot of props because it is not easy. But I think the question you want me to answer is, if you're learning how to code right now, is it still worth it? And I need to be honest, I don't know. What do I mean by this? The tech landscape is changing more than ever. If you look at the use case for JavaScript, it's still the most popular language used in the world today. But compared to last year, where 65% of developers were using JavaScript in the world in 2022 and 2023, it's only 60%. And I see that going down, and I see the world transitioning more from JavaScript to Python. Now, is it still worth it? When I say I don't know, I don't. But am I confident? Yes. Changes will always happen in tech. You know, I remember when I learned code, this was 7 to 8 years ago, jQuery was still very popular. And now who still uses jQuery? Very small companies, not the larger companies. But just because you're only learning jQuery doesn't mean that you can't get a job with it. To be honest, it's probably a 1% chance now. When you look at just the jobs that are hiring right now, very low chance. But is it still possible? Yes, but you're only making it harder for yourself. So when it comes to trying to get your foot in the door in tech, I highly suggest that you make sure you know exactly what you're learning. And if you want to make sure you're following the correct roadmap, I have a video for that, but I also have a link in the description below that when you subscribe to my newsletter, you get access to all these pieces of content on my Notion. It's just a Notion template that gives you the developer roadmap, the JavaScript shortcuts, terminal, text editor, you name it. So check that out in the link in the description below. But as I just said, it's very important to make sure you keep up with industry trends, because if you don't, you will fall behind. For example, I know someone who's been a web engineer for about 7 years, full stack developer pretty much, but for only solely focusing on JavaScript isn't good enough anymore. And so I think that's very important to understand. Front-end developers are still very much in demand. But if you have a little bit of AI skill set, meaning you know how to work with LLM somehow, or maybe an NLP framework or NLP in general, which is what's used, NLP stands for natural language processing, that can help you too. But now in this space, what's very important is being able to stand out. Very important. Which is why, again, I suggest everyone just dive into AI here and there. Doesn't mean you need to get your PhD in LLMs or machine learning, computer vision, deep learning, you name it. Doesn't mean that. You don't need that to dive into AI. Just start building more things with it, and it will go a long way. You want to stand out? Do that. And I think that's why, as we dive deeper into the space of AI, I want to highlight DID's API. It's revolutionizing the way we use AI, particularly with its live streaming feature that operates at an impressive
Okay, this is an
100
ad.
frames per
Shout out
second.
to
It's
you know,
not
shout out to them.
This is
but I'm gonna skip that real quick.
This is skill in the link. Earlier, there are a ton of layoffs that are happening in tech right now, right? Again, from Spotify to Twilio to even Amazon. It's still happening. I thought when these layoffs occurred 2 years ago that they would eventually stop. They slowed down a little bit, but even I was laid off. I have other friends who were laid off too, and particularly DevRel, which is what I work in too. It's a scary time in tech, even for those with 7+ years of experience, even those with 10 years, 11 years, 12 years of experience are getting laid off. So now what does that mean for you who are learning how to code, trying to get your foot in the door? I think you need to have expectations of how hard it will be. With all these layoffs happening in tech right now, expect that it will take much longer than 3 months. Like, I got a job in 3 months, but that's not normal, right? I don't say that will not happen to anyone else. Very few people, and even when this happened to me 7 years ago, only very few people had that happen to them. And I can only speak of one person other than me that did it. Only one. So I would say don't expect to get a job in 5 or 6 months. I'd say 6 to 12 months more realistic. But even on top of that, because there's so much more technologies you need to learn today compared to what I learned 7 years ago, I'd say what's more realistic is 1 to 2 years. And you know what's sad though, is that when people tell me it's gonna take me 2 years to get a job after learning how to code, this is a waste of time. You know, when I hear that though, I get pissed. I get pissed because you put in
I'm so conflicted, bro, when it comes to my homie asked me the other day, when will he know that he's ready? And I told him, like, bro, you're ready now. Just go ahead and do it. You know, I'm not 100% sure if everybody's built for that, built for the pressure that you can be under when you're working with something where you're not like completely perfect at it, right? You're learning as you go. But from my perspective, I feel like no matter what, you're going to hit error codes. You're going to run into things that you don't know how to do. That literally is what software development is, right? Who out? No, I already know there is no one who can code without hitting an error code and then having to look into the network tab, inspect the console, throw a console log on top of that, and finagle it until it works. So no matter how many courses you do, no matter how many learning you do, that is going to happen. So it's a very much so, especially for us juniors, you're expected to learn as you go, wherever first company that hires you. But then I know that they say there is no junior developer jobs out there. Although in January, 4 months ago, I was hired with everybody knowing I was junior. You know what I'm saying? First chance. Granted, it's a startup, so there's a little bit more leeway there. That's why to my people inside the school, I kind of always promote freelancing and startup community because those are usually the ones who like don't have as much funding. So they do have the ability though to give you a chance. You know what I mean? If you find the right one, go for it. But I would say taking 2 years to learn to code, sure, if that's what you really want to do before you start looking for a job, sure you can. And I would recommend no to-do list apps, no weather apps. Do the course stuff, but don't put that on your portfolio, or start with that on your portfolio and then evolve it. And what you want to do is build an actual company, build an actual product, build a software as a service. Think of something, the coolest thing that you can think of that may maybe even be used one day, and build that. Or something that it even resembles something like what a company would actually do. Whatever type of job you want to work, code in that way. Gain the experience in that way, then it will live on your portfolio and give you a better chance to break into the job market. And I don't think that needs to take 2 years. I think those courses are a waste of time. Like, they can be a waste of time unless you do it properly, which I think he's probably going to speak on either in this video or in the next video, because when you do those courses, if you're like me and if you're like most people, you kind of blow through them as fast as you can, and in the end you didn't really learn properly. I'm really learning now on the job everything that I was supposed to learn in the courses. But when you're doing courses, it's like you're watching TV. How much learning of how to build a house can you do from watching, I don't know, House Builders, Home Improvement or something? How much learning how to run a startup can you learn from watching Silicon Valley? No, it's not until you actually go to do it that you learn. So no matter how many courses you do, if you say, I'm going to take 2 years and I'm going to do 10 courses and then I'll be ready, you're going to feel exactly the same way that you feel today. That is why tutorial hell is a real thing. It's because that's what happens. That feeling of being ready that you keep pushing off, and one more, I just need one more. It's never going to end until you decide, I'm ready. I am a developer. And then even when you go to code, this shit it still ain't going to work. It's going to break. And you're going to have to talk to ChatGPT. You're going to have to comb through documentation. You're going to have to ask mentors. But guess what? Now you're doing what you should have did back then, and now you're an actual developer. I'm sorry. Let's continue.
Put in 2 years of hard work, extreme hard work. Yeah, it's not guaranteed you won't get a job, that you will get a job. Extreme hard work. First job paying between $70 and $100K a year, depending on where you live. Maybe more. After 3 years in tech, you're making $150,000. Let's say $130,000 to $150,000. After 5 years in tech, you're making $200K plus, depending on how bad you want it and if you make the right moves, of course, I'm transitioning from company to company. Like, dudes, I'm not a senior developer. I never strived for it because I didn't care about the 20, 30K pay increase. I make that in 1 month from YouTube, right? And so that didn't matter to me. But like, as a developer advocate, I don't even code full time like I used to at these jobs. I was making $250,000 a year. Coinbase offered me $320,000 a year if I was willing to move back to San Francisco. Brex offered me.
What? Coinbase, you still need a developer. Holla at your boy. I'm here.
$270,000 a year, remote, living in Las Vegas. But why was I able to receive this? Because I put in the hard work. So when I hear people say 2 years, it's not worth it, then stop watching. It's not going to happen to you then. With that mindset, it won't happen. But I want everyone to understand that it will take time to get a job in tech. Expect them. Next, coding boot camps. Let's talk about coding boot camps. They're very popular. There are a lot of boot camps that don't teach the correct technologies. I want you to understand, for everyone learning how to code right now and trying to get your foot in the door, coding boot camps aren't the only way. You can go self-taught, or you can go back to college and get a degree in AI.
There was no way I was going to spend thousands of dollars to learn something that I could learn for free. There was no way that was going to happen. Not only was it impossible at the time financially, but even if I did have it, I could not. I mean, of course I thought about it, and I said, when I was doing my little, shout out to Team Treehouse, $25 a month. $25 a month, okay? And I just could tell this is the same stuff that's going to happen over there. You know what I mean? I'll give that, sure. That's no problem, okay? That's why I always promote them. Shout out to Team Treehouse. Because other ones were like 4,000, 8,000, remote learning with real instructor. But I'm like, I would be so mad if I spent that much money and didn't get a job. Like the day of graduation, I better get a job the day of graduation if I spent that much money. But I was thinking like, maybe that's what I need to do to further motivate me. Maybe I need the pressure of a school environment because it's so hard for me to stay focused. But it's like, nah, man, if you really want it, you're going to do it. You just have to that's where self-development comes in. Getting a routine comes in. It's a lot of psychology and inner work that needs to go to be a self-taught developer. That's why we get props for that, don't we? Like when it comes to people who got a degree, I think that self-taught guys that are successful wear that as a badge of honor. Self-taught. It kind of reminds me of the military. The enlisted people who eventually become officers get a little bit more respect because they got it out the mud versus a person who just went to college, became officer schooled, and became an officer. You know what I mean? There's a little bit more he's a real one. He's a hard worker. He got it out the mud. And so that's the path that I wanted to take. And I wasn't really also trying to pay all that bread, man. Like the bread is crazy. So I'm not you never see me talking about coding boot camps for real, or even computer science degrees, even though that I would tell a kid, go ahead and get your computer science degree, because at least you learn whatever they all know. You know what I mean? Whatever they all know. Because when you're self-taught, you don't even know if you're learning the right stuff half the time. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. But let's continue.
Machine learning, right? Like I say, and I say this all the time in my one-on-one mentorships. If you're young enough to go to college, or if you're still your late teens or early 20s and you could go to college, go that route and get your degree in AI. Get your master's. It's hard as hell. It's worth it, and it will future-proof your career, right? But coding bootcamps is not the end-all be-all. Don't trust a company just because they're a coding bootcamp. Do the research. Check them out. But I want you to understand that just because you go to a coding bootcamp does not mean that you'll get a job. Just because you go self-taught does not mean that you'll get a job. If you go to a coding bootcamp and you only do what the coding bootcamp tells you, you won't get a job. I don't believe that. I think you need to go above and beyond. It's the same thing for people who get the degree in computer science. I have a cousin who went to college to get a computer science degree, and guess what? He didn't get a job after. Why? He only followed the curriculum. He didn't build anything for fun outside of work. So then why would they hire him? Same thing when you're self-taught. If you only follow what these tutorials teach you, it's not enough. If you only do what FreeCodeCamp teaches you, it's not enough. You need to build things. You need to build things in public if possible, but you need to really learn. So don't just go to a coding bootcamp. Don't just do an online tutorial. Don't just do anything just to do it, thinking that's all you need. No. I mean, I'm working on my own course. It's called neverlearnagain.com. And even I will say that's not enough. With my own tutorials, and it's not going to be out until like January. But even with my
courses. Are we still doing courses, guys? Are we still creating and selling courses? Can that really be justified? You know what I mean? That's a discussion for a later time.
with my own tutorials, my goal is to teach you how to stop depending on tutorial. Like if I'm teaching you HTML, CSS, my goal is to make sure you never use the HTML, CSS course ever again. You can do stuff without me.
So let me get this straight, bro. You created a course with the goal of people not using courses.
I teach you JavaScript. The point of my JavaScript course is to make sure you're out of tutorial hell. You never go back into tutorial hell or ever get into it in the first place. There's no end all be all. And please understand that, right? And so this transitions to learning. Tech is not easy. There are layoffs left and right. The moment you stop learning, you become invaluable. The reason we get paid so much without needing to be a...
That's a fact. The moment you stop learning, you become Did he say invaluable?
Doctor, getting a P become invaluable. The reason there are layoffs left and right. The moment you stop learning, you become invaluable. The reason we get paid so much.
Am I tripping, or invaluable means you have great value? I might be tripping. Invaluable synonyms. Beyond price, valuable, helpful, expensive. Yeah, invaluable is a good thing. Precious, priceless. I think he meant to say you have no value. I think that's what he meant to say. He didn't mean to say invaluable. He meant to say you become your value decreases.
Without needing to be a doctor, getting a PhD, going to college for 12 years. The reason we can make $200,000, $300,000 a year is because this is a lifelong learning choice that we make. You don't just learn like you are now, like crazy now for the next 1 or 2 years. You're continuously learning for the rest of your career in tech. It's a never...
That is a fact. That is a fact. That is a 100% fact. That's what software engineering is. That's what it means. You're learning. And the moment that you stop learning, you're done. You're finished. You stop growing. You're old, washed up. And that's what we signed up for. We signed up for continuous learning. And that's what I love about it, because I'm a continuous learner. I'm all about evolution. I'm all about self-development. I'm always about, no matter what we are doing, there is more that we can be done. You know what I'm saying? We are cells that are all evolving, and evolution is a never-ending spiral of Fibonacci sequence, expanding. There is no limit to where we can do. That's why I had to put myself into a career where that is possible. That is why I became a software engineer. I was a truck driver. There's not a lot of evolution going on there, which caused me to be depressed. It caused me to be bored out of my mind. Although I was learning by listening to YouTube. As I drove every day, I was listening to YouTube. I was learning as much as I could. So that was at least keeping my mind stimulated. But physically, my body was just 12 hours, just locked in, stuck, and bored. And that's how I know I'm in the right place. Retail, nah, that ain't it. Warehouse work, that ain't it. You know what I mean? And if you're here, like I always say, you are one of the few continuous learners. You're one of us evolving, pushing things to the next level. Is it worth it to learn the code? Of course it is. To just be involved in technology. Hello, this is the future we're living in. We're living in the future. You're living in the realm, the most magical device that we have, technology, where anything is possible. This is the place where, software, apps, we got so much stuff to do from here. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we're in the right place. So for the new guys coming in, one day I won't be a new guy. One day I'm going to be a mentor. One day I'm going to be an elder. And the whole time I'm always going to be motivating the youngers, the ones behind me, and telling them like, come on, don't worry, come on. No matter how you do it, if you have the calling, if you had the idea and the calling, then it's for you. I haven't met anyone yet who used to be here and is not anymore, and they went back to the regular, and they're happy. I don't know anyone who used to be in tech that is now not in tech, that can speak on what that's like, that can speak on how they were a software engineer and now they're not, and they instead work retail. Now maybe I know a lot of people who used to code but now are like architects and project managers and entrepreneurs, like, but that's still in the same realm. You know what I mean? That's still in the same realm. They're just not, see, we're like the worker bees when we're actually writing code. That's actually the entry level. Although you make great money because of how valuable that skill is, you still at the bottom of the chain, really. My lead developer doesn't code unless we need him to save us. So let's continue.
Never-ending job. Yes, you work 40 to 60 hours a week. Yes, we get great pay. But even after all of that, maybe a micromanaging manager, which I've had many times, even when you have no work-life balance, which I've had as well, you're still expected to learn new technologies or keep up with technologies outside of work. If you don't, you get laid off, you get fired, you get replaced. And that's just what happens. So please understand that this is a life learning commitment you make when you join tech. Last but not least, junior developers, if you're watching this, if you made it to the end, do not just depend on the projects that you build through your tutorials. If that is it, you won't get hired.
Facts.
I guarantee you that. Very few of you will. If you only put the only projects that exist in your portfolio are from tutorials you get from Free Code Camp, Zero to Mastery, Udemy, that's not good enough. Why? Because you're not the only person that used a tutorial. There's hundreds of other thousands of other people who made the exact same project and have the exact same thing on their portfolio. Why would I hire you if you look like everyone else? You need to stand out. You need to build a strong portfolio. That includes being active on GitHub. It doesn't mean you have to contribute to an open source project, but create your own repo, contribute to your own portfolio on there. Show your code, get green checkboxes on your GitHub. Don't depend on these projects, on these tutorials that you learn. Follow a tutorial on Hashnode, on Dev, too, right? Build products from there. Do whatever it takes to stand out, especially in this economy. It's not easy, but is it worth it? Hell yeah. Do I regret anything? Maybe moving into DevRel, but I don't regret doing YouTube. I'll tell you that. But do I regret anything? No.
Can we get more YouTubers, bro? Can y'all start making channels? All my guys out there, Adrian, Ethan, 91 DeGrosse. Make your I think you already do videos actually. Come on, y'all. Let's level up. I know it ain't for everybody, but shout out to Chris Sean. Get his course if you want to take your last course. Everything's changing. I don't want to. Okay, we just did that one. How to become a web developer fast. I feel like we should change the subject. I'm just gonna remember to that we already watched that. This is twice. Let's take this one out. Next up, we're gonna do. Let's get off of the job market for a little bit. You know, we've heard these things so much already, right? Let's go to something different. The Last Human Coder. The Psychology of Coding, Understanding the Mindset of a Programmer. Should we do that one? From, I believe that's Fireship. Sometimes he talks a little bit too fast, so it's hard to multitask. Avoid these common mistakes junior developers make. I kind of think I need to listen to this one by, let's see who's this by. This one is by Continuous Delivery. Let me put it at the right window so y'all can hear it. Should be here.
I think software development is a fantastic profession. But I also think that software development is a lot more complex than we often think. The trouble is that it's incredibly easy to make mistakes in software. Not just in the coding, that they're common enough, but also in how we think about and approach our work. There are lots of different kinds of mistake to make. But which are the most common in the early stages of your career? What are the mistakes that inexperienced software developers often make? And what's my advice on how to overcome them? Hi, I'm Dave Farley of Continuous Delivery. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, please do hit subscribe, and if you enjoy the video today, hit like too. I'd like to begin by saying thank you to our sponsors, Harness, Equal Experts, Octopus and SpecFlow. They are helping us to build our channel, so please do
That's a lot of sponsors. Shout out to him and shout out to them.
check out their links in the description below. Continuous Delivery is helping some of the biggest companies in the world create the best software. The first of these mistakes is software development is all about coding. It's obvious why this is such a big deal for devs just starting out. After all, that's what software devs do, right? They write code. Well, yes, but this is like asking what it is that a carpenter does and answering that they use a tenon saw. That is not what they do, either of them. That's how they do it. Carpenters make things, doors, chairs, cabinets. Software developers create software systems that are meant to solve problems for people in some way. That is our job. Solving problems, not writing code. I love our profession in part because I enjoy the mental focus that writing code gives to me. But I get much more pleasure from finding a neat solution to a problem, even sometimes if it involves no code at all. As a profession, we obsess far too much about our tools and don't spend enough time thinking about what we're really paid to do very often. Instead, I recommend that you take more ownership of the problems that you're trying to solve. Always think, would I like to use this software? And if the answer is no, why is that? And could you do something different to change that? I've been fortunate enough to work with some great software developers through the course of my career. They weren't great because they knew more about languages that they used, though some of them did. They were great because they had more insight into the problems that they were solving and found simpler solutions to those problems. You don't get to be a 10x programmer, whatever that means, because you type 10 times faster. You're great when you solve problems with less code. Next in my list of mistakes, the requirements right. Actually, I think that this idea almost completely misunderstands the problem of software development. It assumes two things. The first is that it's a developer's job to write code and someone else's job to tell them what code to write. Why can't the business simply tell us what the solution is clearly and concisely? Then we can translate that solution into code. While it's true, many organizations try to make it work this way. This is simply wrong. If the developer's job was simply a translation exercise from a description that was detailed enough to be correct, then couldn't we just automate that translation and effectively turn that correct description into the code itself? What then's the point of developers at all? The people writing the description would be the developers then. No, it's much more difficult than that in reality. Organising our thoughts so that they are executable by a computer and understandable to a human being is a difficult thing. But understanding what users want and what works for them is also a difficult thing. The second incorrect assumption is that there is someone who knows the answer to this. Someone who knows what it should do. No one really does. There's a lot of data to back this up. Users don't know what they want. If you ask most users what they want, their ideas are usually a small step from what they already have. It's certainly useful to know what our users want, but great products surprise users and go beyond their expectations. No one was asking for an iPhone before it invented smartphones and revolutionized the mobile phone industry. No one was clamoring to buy books online or sell their sofa online before Amazon and eBay started up. The other angle to this is that the companies themselves, even the innovative ones, don't know the answer either. Steve Jobs and Apple thought that the Newton and the Lisa were great ideas. They weren't. Data from a study in Microsoft said that 2/3 of software product ideas created zero or negative value for the company that creates them. So when your boss says, "We've got a great idea for a product," she's guessing. We are all guessing, and so our job is to develop systems in a world of uncertainty. This isn't because somebody is stupid or evil or doing a bad job. It's simply the nature of the game. What this means is that we need to work in ways that protect us from bad guesses. We need to figure out how to incrementally evolve solutions to problems over time, to grow them step by step, and so give ourselves freedom to make mistakes. Next in my list, speed is all that matters. I think that a focus on the wrong kinds of speed takes a variety of forms. To go fast, we need to work smarter, not harder. There is a trivial way in which junior programmers focus on speed. Sometimes makes me, as a somewhat grumpy old man, smile internally when I see it. This is typing very fast. I've often sat with more junior programmers and watched them dash around, changing stuff so fast that I struggle to follow. That may be me being old and slow, but it's also them not allowing themselves or me time to think. Being a good typist and knowing your tools well enough to move around efficiently is certainly a good thing, but if you are hoping that typing speed will improve your performance, you're optimizing the wrong part of the problem. Our aim should always be to write less code. So pausing and thinking about alternative ways forwards is always a good idea. Draw a picture, have a chat, think about what comes next, and then start typing. The other way that speed fools us is chasing the delivery of features. Nearly all of the organisers that I see seem to optimise work to ensure that everybody's always busy. This, I am afraid, is a rather naive view of how to go fast. Software development is an intellectual creative discipline. Our real goal in software development is learning. That's the expensive part, not the translation of that learning into code. Once the problem is clear, the coding is easy. If the coding is hard, that is nearly always because you don't understand enough about the problem. Making the problem clear.
I'm not saying much on this one because you can tell this guy is a real one, man. He is really cooking right now. I'm making sure I'm subscribing, making sure I clicked on all, because I'll even add him in here so that I can like see his stuff more. But no, like Speed is all that matters. It's a huge mistake. No one really does know what they want when you're building product. As far as I've seen, like we are truly guessing, and sometimes you feel the pressure to always be delivering on features. Whereas I think it's better to go slow. I mean, of course, when it comes to like, make sure that you're handling your loading states properly, error handling, like, and then as you're building something simple as a settings page, there are so many different things as you're building these things that come up that you could improve on that they might not necessarily be asking you to do yet because they want to see the next thing done as well. And you can feel rushed to get done with this thing to deliver on the next thing, and then maybe bring up later like, but what about this? This is missing this. So I'm listening because he's cooking.
Clear is the hard part. One of the reasons that I value TDD quite so highly is that it's the best way that I know to learn what works quickly. My advice is to optimize for learning, not the rate of feature production. Next in my list, my job is to code, not to understand the problem domain. This is somewhat related to the first mistake in my list, but is a little different. One of the most important things to learn is about the problem domain that you work in. The best programmers that I have known are fantastic at picking up this kind of knowledge. And the converse is true. However well you know your programming language and programming tools, if you don't understand the problem that you are working on in some depth, you will do a poor job. You don't have to be a domain expert. In some ways, it's worse than that. The best programmers know the problem domain well enough to have domain insights that even experts sometimes miss. We won't have the same kind of domain expertise as a true domain expert. Our knowledge will often be a little bit more surface. But if we're doing well, we will spot similarities and opportunities that domain experts miss, because they are too close to the problem. So pay attention when people are talking about the problem domain. Work to establish a common language that you can share with domain experts to explore and explain problems. Ask them for clarifications if you don't understand some concept. Try and see the real problem in the real world if you can. This will have a deep impact on the quality of the code that you write, on its simplicity, readability, and on your ability to grow it as your system and understanding grow. Next in my list, I can't ask for help. It shows that I don't know enough. This is an imposter syndrome mistake. It takes a certain amount of self-confidence to ask questions. The truth, though, is that the more that you know, the more that you know that you don't know enough. Smart people ask questions. Dumb people think that they have all of the answers. I think that to be great as a software developer, you must become comfortable with uncertainty, because there isn't much certainty to go around, to be honest. Ask questions. If a dumb person thinks that you are dumb for asking questions, that's their problem, not yours. The point at which this is not true is if you ask the same question over and over again. I have a little trick as a suggestion that you might like. Allow yourself the freedom to ask a question twice. If you want to ask a third time, take the person with the answers aside, fess up that you don't understand, and ask them for some help. 9 times out of 10, they will help you and think better of you for doing this.
Y'all who know me know that was one of my biggest struggles, was getting comfortable asking questions, because understanding that I don't know enough, but then also not wanting to show everybody how much I didn't know, but then also being too much worried about perception of me as a person versus the productivity of the team and my role that I'm playing in the team. If it's going to take me something all day to do something that would have only taken me an hour if I would have reached out to help for it first to gain clarity and just ask them like, how do I do this? What is the proper way for me to go about this? Can you line it up? Because all they have to do is tell you like, you want to write, make sure that you write this, and that. Pseudocode, can at least get some pseudocode to base off of, so I'm not just kind of going in here blind. I've never done this before. These are things that you got to be comfortable with. Comms, good communication. I think that will increase your value greatly. I think that I've already seen that firsthand. I've gotten compliments from my team on that, and that's encouraged me to ask more questions, and it has helped me to get through my week's tasks quicker. Shout out to Continuous Delivery. I see this video is at 45 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up and get back to work. He's got me kind of inspired here to put in some work, and I hope that this can do the same for y'all. Let's get off YouTube, get to work. Let's build something. Let's get something done. We're the digital builders. I'm Lionel the Builder. Check out the descriptions. Please, if you found value in this, let your brother get a like, a share, and a subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.